Hey everybody, Logan here from We Geek Podcast, and on behalf of Adam and myself, make sure you have a Merry Christmas, Blessed Yule, everything you celebrate. Enjoy the season, be safe, and we'll see you all again next week for our New Year's Spectacular. Take care, and enjoy the show. Welcome to We Geek Podcast. You're listening to us on the N.FM. It is Wednesday, December 23rd. We have made it all the way to episode 40. I'm Logan. Joined with me, still a bit under the weather, is Adam.
Yep, what up?
And yeah, man. For those of you who haven't seen The Force Awakens, I would like to welcome the three of you left on the planet.
For real?
I mean, that's insane. That's just, well, we'll talk about that. We've got a list of all the records it's broken, and it's not by like a little either. Some of these are just nuts.
Yeah, it just completely it's taken over my life, pretty much. I'm probably gonna have to enter a 10-step help program. Yeah, dude, it's all I've been thinking about now. Like I kind of want to do, because if you don't know already, listening, we did our own spoiler cast for The Force Awakens. That's up on our podcast that you can look in iTunes or Podbean and whatnot. But I almost want to do a part 2.
Hey, you know what? Let me go see it again, and I'll join you. What the hell?
We might need to revisit that, and because there's just so much stuff that, and I'm not going to spoil anything, so don't worry about it, listeners, but there's so much stuff that I didn't catch and things that I caught later that I just, I loved. Some things we'll get into it later. I don't want to talk anything because I don't want to risk spoiling it, but holy cow, that's all I've been thinking about. I want to get into the books, the comics, everything Star Wars right now. Yeah. But yeah, dude, I'm gonna be seeing it a few more times, especially over the Christmas holiday. But yeah, I just don't know how many times.
There you go. That sounds like a plan to me.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. So what have you been up to aside from Star Wars?
I was gonna say just nothing but Star Wars, dude. I mean, like, this just tells you what kind of ADD I have. I'm reading 3 Star Wars books at the same time right now because I haven't figured out which one I really want to read. I know I'm going to put 2 of them down and kind of just stick with one.
Right.
But I read the first few chapters of a few of them just to get the feel. And surprisingly, I think I'm going to stick with the Lost Stars one.
Oh,
just because, even though it's like, what do you call it?
Young
adult or whatever. I guess there's a stigma to that kind of, but I don't know. It just read better. It read more. I don't know. It just felt better. I don't know. I'm probably gonna stick with that one and then move on to Aftermath and the Plagueis one, and there's just so many that I want to dive into right now that I haven't read for years because I didn't have that fever the last few years. It was like I knew it was coming. We knew there was an awakening. And it awoken, and that's pretty much I haven't even turned on the PlayStation, so I don't. I haven't turned on Destiny. I haven't turned on the PlayStation. I guess I did play a little bit of Battlefront when I had some friends over for a barbecue. They wanted to see what it was like and stuff, and I showed them the Millennium Falcon and whatnot, and they were just blown away at the graphics. They were like, "Holy crap! Did an Ewok just drop rocks on my head?" I was like, yes, that just happened. So that was kind of a cool moment. But yeah, man, I had a barbecue and people over, and still, I'm not sick, but my voice is gone. So it's getting better. You know, I don't know if anyone can tell, but hopefully in a week or 2, I'll be back to normal. But yeah, that was my week.
So that's good.
What about you? What about you?
Not much. Work. A couple of games. Star Wars was the big thing and
Right.
I've for me it was the comics. I talked about it last week. That was what I was gonna do. Was I was just gonna read everything current Star Wars, and
Nice.
I actually almost lived up to that promise. I came up a little short on. I'm up to like 8 on the main run and Vader. I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I know I'm short of Vader down by a handful.
Right,
But
right. It gets so good, dude.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm in love with those now. Actually, listening to this today, the new Vader comes out. I think it's like Vader 14, which continues. It's like the third part of that story.
Okay.
And you can get like Vader Annual, the Darth Vader Annual, and it's its own separate story. And I'm not going to spoil what it's about, but honestly, nothing to do with Darth Vader,
Nice.
which was kind of cool. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to check that one out.
Oh yeah. Did you get to? And we'll get to it later, I guess. But did you read Chewie or
I
Land?
hadn't read Chewie yet. I had started Lando. I read Leia and I did like 2 of Lando.
Well, see, I didn't read Leia, so when we get into it later, you can tell me about some of them, and I'll tell you about the others.
Okay, sounds good.
And I saw that Star Wars Volume 3. I saw a little preview of what we're going to be getting next year for
Mm,
the Star Wars comics, because I was interested in thinking like, okay, now that we're in Force Awakened territory, it's already out. There has to be comics in that timeline coming out, and there's some hints and some things. But we'll get all into that later when we get into our comic book section.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll just go ahead and get rolling here. We had some it kind of a light news week, really,
Hmm.
when you look at everything. So, but
Right.
we had some Ghostbusters news. Just in terms of we got our first cast photo in full gear, and we also got the character posters for each one. What did you think of them?
I thought it looked pretty good. Yeah, I thought it looked cool. It looked Ghostbustery. We've seen like, on the set shots, and they're never going to look good like that. Especially Ghostbuster kind of movie. Um, but when you see like the official photo, it's like, okay, that looks like the Ghostbusters.
Totally.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely looked a lot better than the regular shots.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I, I don't know. Like I keep thinking, like I think this is gonna be interesting, just because I it's I don't know. Like the modernness of it, like being set in today. Like I don't know. I still like my Ghostbusters back in the day.
Right. I
That's
think I think you have to. It's a sign of the times. You know what I mean? If they made an '80s movie today,
yeah,
we probably love it. Older people probably love it, but you have to have that new audience.
yeah, oh yeah,
You have to. I'm gonna reference Star Wars a million times this episode, but it's kind of like that. Like you had to modernize it a little bit, the way it's paced, how fast it is, the way it looks,
yeah.
just to keep up with the times. Because you could still pay homage, like Star Wars did. It's very much. It looks, older but new. I think if Ghostbusters is done right, they could do that. The look still kind of looks like their old suits to me, at least. Did you get that vibe? I mean, no one dresses like that nowadays.
Right. Well, it was a jumpsuit.
Right,
And that
right,
was
right,
It was, I mean, this goes back to my thing about Halloween.
right,
And that's why I recognize the prestige of Carpenter's original, but I enjoy Zombies remake more because
right,
they're 2 very different schools of how to make a horror film.
right,
And I
right,
think that's kind of what you're hitting on here is that you have to
right.
your style has to play to the crowd and
Exactly.
what they're used to.
Right, and someone going into it nowadays, you have kids going into Ghostbusters nowadays, they're not really going to know the older ones. And again, just like Star Wars, when you go into seeing that these days, you got to make it for the time period, and get all fans in together and enjoying it. And I think Ghostbusters can do that. I think it has the ability to do that. I mean, the cast is what pretty much what was it, Bridesmaids?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, I assume it's going to be like a Bridesmaids Ghostbusters movie. Like they have some serious talent in that cast, and I think it could be good. I'm just trying to be positive about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people be negative about it, and we've seen a picture, and I've seen their work. Some of them's been good, but usually when they're together, it's great. So we'll see.
Yeah, and if you're taking your kids to see this and they haven't seen the original Ghostbusters, that's just bad parenting, really. Like there's
Right.
no excuse for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. This could definitely be. I mean, it's definitely going to be more of a family film. But
Right.
I think you're gonna get those kind of nods. Like it's gonna be kind of Pixar-ish in that
Right.
sense. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. There'll be older fans that get most of it or all of it. The newer fans will get most of it, and that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Yep. Just like Star Wars, for the 50th time. Yeah. It's gonna keep going back to it.
it's the new version of the Destiny drinking game. It's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's the thing. If you guys have listened for a while now, when I get obsessed with something, that's all I think about. Slowly and surely, there'll be other things will trickle in. I'm sure once we get into Batman versus Superman and we get into Captain America and we get towards that side of the year, you won't hear that much about Star Wars. But then once we start getting towards Rogue One, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but no, I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I'm just being positive about Ghostbusters.
There you go. Good call. Good
Yeah.
call. I had some other interesting news. They put up some photos. Tom Holland was on the set of Doctor Strange recently. Tom
nice.
Holland, of course, the new Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like he was on set. They were all they were deliberately behind the scenes pictures.
Oh, nice.
And I thought that was interesting. Like it's just him and I forget, I think it was one of the producers and whatever, just kind of chilling on. It was on set, but it was very much. It was like, hey, you can see the green screen and everything. It wasn't. It seemed like this. They were like, hey, he was here, so we're gonna dispel the rumors. When really all it did was just start 8,000 different rumors.
Oh yeah, definitely. I hope Spider-Man is the guy that's kind of in all of the, kind of like the Nick Fury. Like, why not? Why not have these characters kind of? Because Spider-Man's super important. Like, he is, in most people's eyes, the most important hero Marvel has.
Well, and he was the team-up guy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He works so well with everyone else.
Yeah.
And I could totally see that. I was reading it was Kotaku or IO9 or whatnot the other day, and they were talking about his role in Captain America, and it's not spoilery. Everyone kind of knows that. But, they were talking about how they wanted a modern Spider-Man, but they also wanted it to be very nostalgic. They wanted people, when they see Spider-Man, to think he's a kid in high school. He's vulnerable, and he probably is worrying about his aunt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They want that Spider-Man. They don't necessarily want the same kind of Spider-Man that Sony has done the last few years. And that was, according to them, that was extremely important that Sony knew that. And I think it's great. I think it's great that Marvel's going to be introducing him. Hopefully Sony sees, hey, that's kind of how they did their character. Let's kind of go off of that. And let's base his character off of that and kind of stick with that. And I don't know. I think it's going to be good.
Totally. Yeah, I think Ultimate Spider-Man style is the way to go with that. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And apparently we're going to get more than one suit in it, and I think that's awesome.
Nice.
Yes, and I hope Spider-Man changes his suit up all the time, just like he does in the comics. Keep it kind of normal, like whatever, but change it up.
Totally.
If we get an Iron Spider suit or something like that.
Oh, don't
yes.
even tempt me. Don't even.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we're just getting rolling here. But we're gonna take a quick break. Again, you're listening to We Geek Podcast on the N.FM, and we'll see you. Welcome back to We Geek Podcast on the N.FM, and yeah, we'll jump back into some more movie news here. We had some Prometheus 2 news because I refuse to call it Alien Covenant because it's a stupid title. I know. Hey, look, I would love to eat my words. I want this to come out and be good, and I will happily apologize. But I don't see that happening.
Right.
Catherine Waterston, who was in Steve Jobs, has been added to the cast. They didn't say what role. I feel bad for her because it's going to be awful. I know. I give this movie such crap, and we know nothing about it.
Right.
But, you know, that's the beauty of the internet nowadays.
Pretty much. But we'll see, you know.
I forget who she played in Steve Jobs.
I'm not sure. I have not seen it.
Ah, rats.
You know.
I think man, I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. That's terrible.
Was she like interviewing him, or
I don't
was she
know.
like a young version of his wife, or?
I don't think so. Nuts.
Are you sure she wasn't his wife?
Might have been.
I'm looking at pictures and it looks like it might have been his wife.
Might have been.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get going here, and I'll come back to that one. Did you see that Lawrence Fishburne is coming to John Wick 2?
What?
Yeah.
Matrix.
We are gonna have a Matrix reunion. Yes, we are.
Oh, I hope they fight.
I'm gonna be curious to see who like what his particular role is.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. They have good chemistry on screen, so
yeah.
It's pretty good. I'm pretty excited for John Wick 2.
Yeah, I loved the first one. I did. Like that was one that kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Keanu Reeves needs a comeback. He had a comeback, and it's good, and I hope he stays. And you know, he's a good dude.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. What else we got here? Oh, this I thought was interesting. Because Terminator 2 turns 20 next year. Let that one sink in for a minute.
Wow.
Yeah, 1996.
Yeah, I remember being in it was like, I forgot what you would call it. It was like a summer camp, not a camp, but it was just summer thing that me and my brothers went to during the day for a few weeks. I remember being there and this kid telling me all about this movie, Terminator 2, and there was robots and the end of the world happened, and I remember seeing the explosion in that movie of like the bomb going off.
Yeah.
Scared the hell out of me. Because that was like, that could happen. You know,
yeah.
Robots probably couldn't take over the world, maybe, but
well.
If a bomb went off, I know that I would probably be standing at a chain link fence holding on to it.
Yeah.
Like the people in that movie. That scared the hell out of me.
But they're bringing that out in 3D. They're re-releasing it in 3D. And before we get stormed by people wanting my head on a plate, it's the 25th anniversary. It came out 91, not 96.
Oh,
I thought that sounded wrong in my head because I was like, I remember watching this on VHS when I was like 8. How did that happen if it had just come out?
Right, yeah, 96 was more like
yeah.
when Pokemon came out.
yeah, that and the first of Fraser's Mummy movies.
Right. What?
Yeah. A few years later, but they around that time, unfortunately. But that, I don't know, Terminator T2 in 3D the way it is now, like if it's the immersive 3D, because they still do plenty of 3D movies that just have the pop effects.
Right.
And that's a
classic.
Yeah. It's absolutely one of the rare movies that if you released it today as is, it would still rock.
Right, that, you know, Jaws, Back to the Future, pretty much any Spielberg film back then.
Right.
But it's in that same kind of category that, like, it's just a fun. Terminator 2 was the DVD that sold surround sound systems.
Yeah.
It was, or even before that, I guess. I remember going into any electronics store, and it was Terminator 2 they had on the screen with their Laserdisc or DVD or whatever they had. I just remember walking over to it and sitting down in a chair, and it would always be Terminator 2 they had because the sound was just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I remember most from it. I don't think I ever saw it in the theater, but I just remember like the sound mostly from it, just how amazing it sounded.
It's funny, you know, it's always movies on that kind of grand scale that push it forward.
Right.
What was it? I think Star Wars was the first that did in theaters that actually did surround.
Oh, really?
At one point, Star Wars we had a graph, we had a timeline of sound systems in theaters, and you could plot it by the movie. Star Wars was one, Jurassic Park was another one, but like all the big steps to stereo, to Sony surround, to 5.1, and just it was always the movies that needed. They were like, hey, we need another channel, we need another something, and they're like, oh, okay, we'll have to redesign the whole damn thing all over again.
Right, you're right. Yeah, here it says the big boost for surround sound was the release of a single movie, 1997 Star Wars,
Yeah.
the swooping rear channel effects. The success of Star Wars inspired theater owners to upgrade their sound equipment to the Dolby Surround standard. That led to other producers and studios embracing the surround sound format. Yeah, that was the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. THX and all of that really pushed that, it says here.
Yeah, and then when Jurassic Park came out, that was the big. I forget if it was the Sony specific one or if it was just 5.1 in general, but I think that was one of the next big ones.
Right, the first DTS movie was 1993's Jurassic Park.
That was it.
Yep, that's all. See, I always reference Jurassic Park to my Star Wars. Just in reference as going to the theater as an 8-year-old kid or however old I was. I guess I might have been 10 or I don't even know. No, I guess I was. Yeah, I guess I must have been 8 or whatnot. So I went and saw that, and it blew my mind.
Yeah.
Completely blew my mind that I was seeing a dinosaur running, and chasing things. It's kind of poetic in a way because it was Jurassic Park that made George Lucas go, we could do more Star Wars films when he saw the dinosaur. So it is kind of poetic in a way, but that was my, some of my older friends going and seeing Star Wars as a kid saying they've never seen anything like it. They'll probably never see anything like it again. That was my Star Wars. It was the Jurassic Park. I'm sure you probably feel the same way too.
It's it's funny because that's always the same one that I point to. I don't know what I was, 5. I think I was still just 5 back then. Yeah. And it was that thing of like that's the first movie I remember like, wow. Like I can remember some other movies before then. I was there, I saw the movie, it didn't leave an imprint.
Well, it was such an event because I remember my cousins coming over and they saw it. For whatever reason, we didn't see it like opening day or opening week, and I think we maybe waited a week. And I remember my cousins coming over and sitting down and telling me, like, you're never going to see anything like this. There's dinosaurs. They're not fake. They're running around on this island, and we don't want to spoil anything. And I had the picture book. I had the magazine. I just had my imagination was running wild. And then when I sat in the theater, it was even better than I imagined. And that's rare. That's super rare. And I was just this special age, as a kid to see that. Whereas if I was an adult, I might have been a little bit more cynical about it or whatever, but it was just, I was the perfect age for that. And, I just think it was kind of our generation's Star Wars, totally. Where, kids a few years ago, if you were 8 years old and saw Avatar for the first time, that's probably your Star Wars. That's probably your Jurassic Park.
More than likely.
Nowadays, with the new Jurassic Park and the new Star Wars, that's probably yours. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so we have come full circle.
Exactly. I imagine actually Avengers is probably very close to that too for a lot of kids.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I mean, dude, could you imagine as a kid knowing that one day we were going to get a Batman, Superman movie, a Civil War movie, a Star Wars movie, a Jurassic Park movie, all within like a year or two?
Could you imagine being that kid when all this stuff gets announced, just having to constantly run in, why is Daddy crying?
Right, exactly.
It's because he's happy, sweetheart. Why? Because all of his favorite heroes are going to be movies, and you don't understand like how, it's cool to like this stuff. This is the first generation where that's, you could walk into school decked out in Star Wars, Marvel, and even to an extent some D&D stuff, and it's not immediate ostracism.
Right. Yeah. There's not that stigma attached to it anymore. It's you can be proud of it. And that's the thing, is that it was the geeks and the nerds that did good in school and got great jobs and are now in charge. So they're going, this is what we loved as a kid. We could actually do this right. We can make it fun. We can make it interesting. And it's J.J. Abrams was perfect with that, especially with the first Star Trek. I always go to that. One of my good friends, she's not into any of the stuff that I was into, especially in high school and stuff. When she saw Star Trek, she was like, I don't know why I loved that, but I loved the hell out of it. I was like, I told you. I was like, you loved Lost, and now you gave the guy who did Lost a chance with Star Trek, and I can't wait until I hear what she thinks of Star Wars because she's still reluctant. She's like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be interested in that. I'm like, just go see it, and she is. So I'm curious when she comes back what she's going to think of it.
Well, the thing is, you'll never know until you try. I had this talk with somebody at work the other day who had never seen Star Wars, and of
Right.
course, one of my other coworkers kind of whipped around the corner like, "What?"
Well, did they tell you like how like a vegan likes to tell you that they're vegan?
No, it was
Because
just
that's
kind
all
of
I've seen on Facebook is
yeah.
like, I've never seen Star Wars. Hey, poke over here. I've never seen Star Wars. And I'm like, okay,
No.
relax. You should probably see it.
Yeah.
Do you know what Mickey Mouse is? You know, are you aware of Superman? You know, you should probably go do that.
Does the word Batman mean anything to you at all?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And then my friends that have never seen it, I'm not a jerk. I'm like, you should probably do that. Like,
Yeah.
go see it. And I always remind them, it was made in the 70s and the 80s. You're not going to see it through the eyes of a child. You're going to see it as an adult. Some things are going to be goofy, especially if you don't like older movies. You're not going to see it through the same eyes. So just keep that in mind. And honestly, seeing the new film, you really don't need to know much about the older ones because your character is Finn. Your character is Rey. Your character are these people who don't know anything that has to do in the past because it's
Exactly.
all rumors, it's all legends and whatnot. So anyway, that's we'll get into Star Wars later.
Well, and I mean that's the thing. That was what I said. They were, and it was just kind of like brought up. They were like, "Yeah, I've never seen Star Wars." And
Yeah.
I was like, "You could go see this one," like, but I haven't seen the others. So listen, that's kind of the idea behind how they knew they were bringing a whole new audience to this.
Oh, yeah.
In a
I
lot
mean,
of ways. So you don't. It helps, but it's not necessary. Go see it.
No, it's not. Finn's the perfect character for that because how many times did he just not know what's going on? So like, it's fine. You can be him.
You understand that thing, like us.
Right, exactly. There's so many things. Yeah, we won't get into that until later, but it's the perfect kind of movie to go see and be like, okay, I get it. I get most of it, you know, and that might actually make you go, hey, I'm gonna go put in episode, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
Hey, and what are these
Anyway.
other ones here? One of these say 1 and 2. How did those survive? They were supposed to have died in the fire. Ignore them.
Right, exactly.
Oh, and
Yeah.
did you see? I forgot to throw these in the show notes here, but did you see that when talking about the Avatar sequels coming back to James Cameron out of nowhere, he said they're actually going to be kind of all standalone, but in the same. They're going to connect a similar story, but not.
I didn't know that. I did see that he was shooting all 3 together.
Yeah.
And that just so starting 2017 when we're going to get episode 8, he wants Avatar to come out that Christmas. By the way, Star Wars that year will be back in May or whatnot.
Yeah.
But he wants Avatar to come out that Christmas time, the next year, and the following year.
Interesting.
Yeah. So he wants them all to be 1 year apart, which would make sense if the stories are all going to kind of connect.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna, we're moving along at a rather glacial pace this week, but
Jeez.
we're gonna take a real quick break here. Again, you're listening to We Geek Podcast on the N.FM, and we'll see you. Welcome back to We Geek Podcast on the N.FM. And we just have one more bit of movie news here, but it's a long bit. It's just how many box office records Episode 7 broke this weekend. And dear God, is this a huge list. We'll start with the Thursday preview showings. The previous record was the last Harry Potter film at $43.5 million, which by itself is a huge chunk of change. Let's be real about that. Episode 7 made it $57 million.
Jesus.
That's what I mean. These are not even close. This just, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine? Some movies don't make that at all. And some, I mean, big budget movies. Did John Carter even make that much in total? Like,
No. And I mean, here's the thing. Harry Potter's probably the next biggest thing as close as it is. That and like Jurassic World. Like just a phenomenon.
Yeah.
that Harry Potter was for so many kids. And it just it gets over 10 million more than it in one night. It's absolutely insane. I think that just goes to show how generational it is.
Totally.
Yeah, on so many levels.
We had it also, of course, broke largest Friday opening day single day totals. Again, previous record, the last Harry Potter, 91 million. Not bad. Star Wars, 119 million.
Jesus.
Again. I mean, just, yeah, right. Really? This is, it's madness. It's absolute madness. We've got the largest Sunday. This one was a little closer. Jurassic World held the previous record. Little over 57 million. Pretty good, especially for a Sunday. Star Wars, 60.5 million.
Wow.
Not too bad. Not too bad at all. And we just got some numbers in today on this one. I had to tack this one on here. It also broke the record for largest Monday. Again, what a surprise. This was interesting. The previous record for that was Spider-Man 2, 27.2 million. Not the Amazing Spider-Man 2, but the Raimi sequel.
Right.
Which I thought was interesting. Star Wars, $40.1 million. On a Monday. Man,
Yeah.
on a Monday. Not everybody's out of school yet.
No.
I mean, jeez. The big numbers. Total domestic opening weekend. Jurassic World held that one at $208.8 million. Which, again, yeah, that's a pretty nice check to take to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars originally reported $238 million, and then they had to go back. Oh, sorry, wait, we forgot to carry a 1 here. It's actually $248 million.
Yeah, and the thing is honestly, from most of my normal friends that are not like me, they're all saying we're waiting. We're waiting until the crowd dies down.
Sure, and that's why it never will.
And it won't.
Yeah.
This is going to every weekend. It might get a little bit smaller, of course, every weekend. But when we're talking about these kind of numbers, small is not small for 4 weeks out.
Small, 40 million on a Monday. Come on,
Right.
it's not for a month is this going to get small.
Right. No, and Christmas, surprisingly, is a huge day for movies because not everyone's, Christian or celebrates Christmas. So that's their day to go, what are we going to do? The only thing open right now is a movie theater.
Yeah.
Or you have your families who are all together. They've all opened their presents. Take your kids to go see a movie that day. That's probably what's going to happen. I've done that a few times and loved the heck out of it.
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
we saw what was the movie with Robin Williams and the Flubber? I forgot what other movies came out around Christmas time. One of them was Avatar. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of movies I saw as a kid. Maybe 101 Dalmatians was one of them. I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's a huge weekend to take your kids, especially since you have all this time off.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the next week, New Year's, so it's just gonna get bigger.
Yeah. We've got opening weekend worldwide. This one was another one that was relatively close, again, comparatively speaking. Jurassic World had it 524.9 million, almost 5.25.
Right.
Star Wars 5. Hang on, what have I got here? Did I get to 529? That's right, it was 529 as opposed to 525 almost.
Oh wow.
So just a little $4 million difference. Not a big gap.
Yeah.
I love talking about things like this. Average per theater. Jurassic World had it 48,000 and some change per theater.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane by itself.
Yeah.
Star Wars, just a shade under 60,000 per theater.
That's insane.
That's nuts.
You think this is going to topple Avatar?
Oh yeah. Oh dude, I have no doubt about that. I think this thing in by the end of January, this thing makes $1 billion domestic.
Yeah.
I have no question about that at all, and it's just going to keep rolling. I think this thing makes $3 billion. I do.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What do we got? Top opening weekend for a PG-13 film. Again, we talked about it. Jurassic World 209, Star Wars 248. Top opening holiday weekend. This was interesting. The Hunger Games Catching Fire, 158 million. And again, of course, Star Wars 248. So
yeah, it just doesn't compare.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's not even fair. Like it's not fair to even compare any of them. Oh yeah.
It was part of the best December weekend. Previous record 260 million, and this is the top 12 movies playing in a weekend. Total box office 260 million for the weekend, Christmas weekend 2009, which, if I'm not mistaken, that was Avatar, right?
Right.
I think so. Yeah. This weekend altogether 305 million. And think about that, 248 million of that was Star Wars, which leaves, what's that, 57 million for the other 11 top movies.
Right, yeah. I mean, why would you even bring out Alvin and the Chipmunks? Did you see the Simpsons cartoon?
No.
Okay, go look at this. I'll show it to you on one of our breaks. But they're apparently, I don't know how true this is, but it's been going around Facebook. There's an old Simpsons cartoon, and it's a still, and it says Star Wars Episode 8, The Apology, and it has like Jar Jar Binks and whatnot on it. And then to the right of it has like chipmunks and they're like rabies or something like that. And it's like opening weekend, and it says like I don't know what the name of the studio was. It was just crazy that they did that, and it's the same opening weekend. I don't know. I'll show it to you on the break, but yeah, it was just funny.
I love ones like that. The last what do we got here? Oh, this one's interesting. The biggest December opening weekend. Interestingly, Avatar was not the biggest opening in December. It was actually The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey.
Oh, really?
84.6 million. As opposed to, again, Star Wars 248 million.
Right.
Madness. The last one here that I think is interesting is global IMAX openings. Just IMAX opening, IMAX only screens on the weekend. Jurassic World had it 44 million. These are just IMAX screens. Star Wars 48 million. Just on IMAX. That's, when you stop to think about it, like there's not every theater is IMAX. The closest one to me is down in Charlotte. That was where I had to go, and I mean that's what 40. It's like 40 miles, give or take.
Right.
Like it's it's an hour drive, so they're not completely ubiquitous, but they're not
Right.
I would have loved to have seen this at Downtown Disney, just because they have the Atmos sound system.
Right, yeah, that's definitely one place I'm going to be going seeing. I couldn't do it, opening day or whatnot, just because tickets were insane. But that's probably the next place I'm going to go see it.
Yeah, God, I would love to do that, just to see like that whole speaker array up in the ceiling. Like come on, man, this is tailor made for that.
And what's cool is they have stormtroopers literally walking around the place. You can go to the bar there, which is like I believe like a DuckTales bar or Indiana Jones bar or something.
Okay.
Yeah, you kind of get all into it. It's cool.
There you go.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I think that'll do it for the movie news. We'll go ahead and pop into TV for a little bit. This is going to be terrible. I'm gonna have to get a running start to this one. The voice actress for Vixen on the CW Seed animated show that they're doing, she is going to actually play the live action version on season 4 of Arrow. And I'm gonna take a shot at her name here. It's Megalyn Echikunwoke, I believe, or Echikunwoke. It's
Oh, okay.
that's one I would need a pronunciation guide on. I'm sorry about that.
Right.
But I thought that was interesting. That's a nice little bit of hey, they've already done this character. Why not? We're gonna make the switch from animated to live action. Let's just keep the actor. Why not?
Right. Right. No, that makes sense.
Have you
No,
watched Have you watched that at all?
I have not. Remember,
Ah,
refresh my memory. What does Vixen do?
you know what? You asked me. I knew you were gonna ask me that,
Hmm.
and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
That was one that I was like, oh, okay, cool, something new a new player in the sandbox, and I just never followed up on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how well that paid off either because who is their audience for that? Kids? It's like it's supposed to be an animated show, right?
Yeah, I think that was the idea.
Yeah, and I don't know how well that's gonna play off. I don't know. But yeah, no, Vixen DC Comics. Not exactly sure what she does. Let's see here. It's got a lot of animals around her.
Yeah.
I
Here
guess
we
her powers mimics the abilities of any animal that has ever lived on Earth, and healing factor, kind of like Animal Man.
Oh, she draws from the red, doesn't she?
She must.
Oh,
She has to
okay.
if that's her
So it's
powers.
it's a different version of Animal Man, kind of.
Pretty much. I mean, that's a really cool person and ability to have on your team. If
Yeah.
you have Animal Man the woman on your team, that would be an amazing character to introduce to Arrow.
Yeah. Especially how we're kind of sliding a little more into mysticism now and everything. Ooh, ooh. If they're gonna do this and introduce the red, then you know what that opens the door for.
What? Tell me.
Swamp Thing. Because then we get to the
Yes.
green. If we've got the red, we have to have the green.
Oh man, and then think about Constantine and everything. Oh man, that's just too good.
Which slowly starts to open the door for a Justice League Dark. I mean,
Dude, I would love a Justice League Dark television show.
if they're gonna keep switching up the teams in Legends of Tomorrow, just a thought.
Yeah. Oh, dude, yeah, that's fantastic. But now I just thought about it. I would totally love a Justice League Dark television show. You have Constantine, you have Swamp Thing, you have Animal Man, you have Dead Man. That as much as I've always kind of said, I don't know if Constantine can hold his own show. We know he can. It wasn't done right.
Right.
I think it would be so much more interesting with all of those other characters to play off of in the same
Absolutely.
show.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Oh
it.
man, that would be great. And they've always hinted at it. I mean, in his own show, he hinted at Swamp Thing big time.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah.
was one of my favorite. Well, we're gonna wrap up this segment here, and we'll come back here in just a minute. Again, you're listening to We Geek Podcast on the N.FM. Welcome back to We Geek Podcast on the N.FM. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about what you showed me over the break there. Tell me a little bit about that trailer for its new show on, was it USA?
Yes, USA. It is going to start in January 14th, on Thursday, I believe.
Okay.
January 14th. Actually, I think there's going to be like a 2-hour premiere after Raw. I could be wrong. Let me take a look here.
Yeah,
Um,
that'll be a Monday. What's it called?
it's called Colony.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll get the details really soon. Oh yeah, okay. So we'll premiere at 10 p.m. January 14th after 2 hours of the WWE live action series SmackDown. So
Okay. Yeah.
it's gonna be right after SmackDown. And yeah, so January 14th. It is Josh Holloway. So you guys probably know him like I do as Sawyer from Lost. He looks just like Sawyer from Lost. I like that he grew his hair back out. Looks perfect on him. You also see his wife in the show, Sarah Wayne Callies, probably mispronouncing it, which was Lori from Walking Dead.
And it,
Uh,
it doesn't seem like she's changed any.
no, she definitely seems like a worried wife. She's in a world where probably her kid's missing, just like Carl. And yeah, like in the trailer, you kind of get an idea that his son, when they're in this colony, basically an occupied Los Angeles. Looks like there's a big wall around them. They don't give too much away about like what's on the outside or if it's aliens or what. There's a lot of weird stuff happening. But it's Carlton Cruise who does it. He does a good job at mystery and suspense, and he did Lost. He also did what was that Psycho TV show?
Oh, Bates Motel?
Bates Motel, yeah, he
Okay.
was the showrunner for that. Probably still is. But he's really good. I love his writing. I love what he does. Of course, I'm obsessed with Lost. But if it's anything like that, if it's one of those shows where they give you, 20 questions, answer 10, and give you 20 more, I'm in. USA, I'll be honest, I don't watch USA ever. That looks really cool. That's going immediately on my DVR. Starts in January, starts next month. So that's going to give us something to watch when there's not a lot on TV. Kind of a good
Nice.
time for something like that to come out.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, USA's been a little hit and miss with programming. I know, of course, Burn Notice is the one that everybody's going to point to. They'll say, that was amazing. I'm like, okay, sure, fine. I wasn't, I wasn't the biggest fan, but I don't know, I just never got into it. But for me, it was White Collar. That was my favorite. I love that show.
Right.
It was Matt Bomer and some other people that were great. The guy who played his FBI handler is in, what's the other new Fox show they're advertising? It's
Oh, you got me.
about
Man.
the guy who gets, the whole thing is like he's been revitalized or something.
Oh yeah, from like the creator of X-Files.
Exactly,
The guy
yeah.
is 60 and now he's 23 or something. I don't know
Yeah,
what.
but he,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah, he's in that. So I'm like, as soon as I saw him, I was like, that's Peter. Oh, okay, I gotta at least try this show.
Right.
So
Yeah, Fox hasn't had a show for me for so long, but we got X-Files soon.
there you go.
When's that come out?
Uh,
Put you on the spot, huh?
January something. I think a lot of this is starting in January. Lucifer starts in January.
January 24th. We
There we
got
go.
a 2-night premiere starting on Sunday, so it'll be Sunday and then Monday. And then I imagine it'll be on Mondays after that.
Yeah, and
And it's
there'll only be 4 more, right?
yeah, it kind of stinks. Such a tease. It really is. Like the X-Files could totally work as a good series coming back. That's something they should have really. No, there's gonna be 6.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, so you're right. Yep, that's
yeah.
gonna be 4 more after that. Yeah, it's really disappointing, but yeah, it'll be over by February 22nd.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that'd be right.
yeah, so hopefully after that they pick it up real soon. Hopefully after the first 2 episodes they get a lot of people watching it. Yeah, because I'm really interested in X Files coming back. That was a cult classic.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the idea. It was kind of like what they did with 24, where it was like we're gonna give you like a shortened season just to test the waters. Because that was the thing I know with 24. It was like, okay, these go on for way too long.
Right. I can see 24 went on for a long time.
Yeah.
X Files to me is bigger. X Files is one of the first shows that really made Fox what it is today. And it can lend itself to me to better writing. Because you can just get into weird stuff and it's normal. Or 24, it's like, okay, how many times in one day is Jack Bauer going to save the day?
Right.
Where with X Files, you could go all over the place
True.
and it stays interesting. So yeah, I hope it really does pick up. I hope it's not some lame duck thing that burns out and no one's interested in it. I really do hope it's really good because, I mean, I can't tell you anything on Fox that I watch. I wish I watched more of The Simpsons, but I don't. But that'd probably be the only thing that interests me at the moment. I can't think of a single thing,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Fox has really burned me, I guess.
Yeah.
Burned with Firefly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I haven't watched their animated block in, God, years. It's been years since I've watched Family Guy or Simpsons, but I don't know. I don't know.
Well, they're starting, they're trying to get into the comics game with, and they picked a weird property to do it with too.
Oh, wait, you know what? I guess I do watch Gotham.
Yeah. Oh, I
just
forgot
don't.
Gotham was on Fox. Yeah. I
Right,
totally
right.
forgot that's where that was.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah. What
Uh,
what what other comic series were you talking
I was
about?
talking about Lucifer.
Lucifer. Yeah, I see the commercials for that, and I gotta imagine the 50-year-old lady sitting at home seeing that commercial going, nope,
Yeah, exactly,
not
right?
not gonna watch that. Like anytime they get close to devil stuff,
Yeah,
I don't imagine most of America is gonna want to sit down and watch that.
yeah.
What do you call it? Uh, that's niche, very niche. That's like
Yeah.
something you could put on Netflix or HBO or Showtime or something, and it probably gets a bigger, better audience than something as wide as Fox.
Yeah, this is not going to work on Fox.
No,
I
it's not.
don't think, especially I mean they'll have to water this down cuz this is the one from Sandman. This is where they're drawing that from. This is that version of Lucifer.
And see,
And
I don't
it's
know that Lucifer. I just know devil stuff is not going to work on
yeah.
a major network. There's just
Yeah.
America. That's not what they're into. You can go to Showtime or you can go to uh, AMC maybe, but Preacher I guess is going to fall in that kind of category a little bit, but it seems like that's the kind of channel you'd put it on.
Right, you'd almost have to,
Yeah,
really.
yeah, you're not going to get grandma sitting down on Sunday night watching that. Not going to
Although
happen.
I would kill to see that though. That
Oh
would
yeah,
be fun.
exactly. I mean, you can. I honestly, a lot of religious people I know don't even watch The Walking Dead,
Yeah, fair enough.
and and I'm like, no, it's about like, you try to explain, it's like, no, it's about a group of people trying to survive in a world that's just kind of gone to hell, and in a way, I relate to Lost. I'm like, it's in a place that they don't understand what happened, and there's constant danger, and they have to survive. And that's what it's mostly about. It's not even about the zombies, but they see the dead and they're like, nope, I'm good. It's just because they're very religious, and
Yeah,
that's their thing. And so that's why that works on AMC, you know.
totally.
Yeah, it wouldn't, Fox would have canceled that show after the first year.
Oh, are you kidding? You think it would have made it this first year?
Yeah,
Shoot.
yeah. And I mean, look what it's now. It is today.
Exactly. I mean, God, they had the last thing at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah,
I mean, that's if you're gonna do a finale or a premiere. I mean,
yeah,
whew,
yeah.
that's
Oh yeah.
you have arrived at that
Y-
point, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
but to keep running on the same kind of track. Speaking of dead people, the first Ra's al Ghul from Arrow, the one played by Matt Nable, is going to be making an appearance on Legends of Tomorrow.
That makes sense. They're
Sure.
time traveling. They're going timey-wimey.
I'd love to see him say that at some point. Let that be an outtake.
This is the show they do it on.
Sure.
This show gets very meta.
And then it would be great have the guy who plays Rip Hunter just kind of cock an eyebrow at the camera.
Right.
Have that just to be like, hey, that's right, because he was Rory, and that was I get the joke. Like,
Right. Oh yeah. Oh
oh,
yeah.
oh, that'd be too much.
Yep. 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 And that's the show they could do it on. I mean, I can't wait to see that. Unfortunately, that one's going to be a little bit shorter, isn't it?
Is it?
Isn't it just a shorter season?
I don't know. I hadn't seen that.
I assumed it was along the same lines of like Agent Carter.
I don't think so. I don't know.
No?
I don't know. I will say that much.
Let me look it up right now. Okay,
Go
we
ahead.
got the pilot,
Right.
and there's 9 episodes.
Oh, that's all? That's okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's gonna start. It's just gonna start like that. I imagine next year it's going to be just as big as Arrow and Flash.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but honestly, a lot of these says to be announced. So maybe that's just what they ordered right now.
Probably.
Right. Yeah. It's like Pilot 1, Pilot 2, Blood Ties, White Knights, and then like TBA, Marooned, Night of the Hawk, and Left Behind is the last one announced.
Ooh, scary.
Yep, yep. So,
I,
who knows? I'm sure somewhere in this writing it says how many episodes they picked up, but it could be they just pick up more. Yeah, it says the first season is expected to consist of 16 episodes,
okay.
is what it says. Yeah, so that's cool. So yeah, we'll definitely get. That's a big. For nowadays, that's a good amount for a
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, that's
It
solid.
doesn't need to be 24 or whatever like the other ones.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, especially if they're gonna air it like in between, you know.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, Agent Carter's probably going to get a few, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Definitely be interesting.
Yep.
One more piece of TV news, and I thought it wasn't just the news that I found interesting, but how it came out. For Supergirl, showrunner Andrew Kreisberg announced that they're doing Bizarro, but it was where he did it. It was when he was on a recent episode of Fat Man on Batman.
Oh, really? Yeah. See,
Yeah.
I didn't hear the last two of those.
Yeah.
I heard I listened to their Star Wars one, but yeah, I got to dive into those two episodes because I definitely want to hear that. You know, I love how Kevin is now completely obsessed with Flash, and for so long he put it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, no, Supergirl got really good. I don't want to spoil anything. I know you're gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Listeners, if you've seen it, you know some of the big twists. You know some of the characters they've introduced, and I can't wait. There's some characters I never thought we would see on TV, and we were talking about like, hey, stop being the same old, random comic book character that's only been in 3 issues as the surprise guest star that's the villain. They finally throw a big hitter in there, and I loved it. I was you'll see it, dude, and you'll go, yep, this is what he was talking about, and yep,
Nice.
I can't wait to see what happens.
Totally.
Yeah, they finally got me super interested in moving forward. We're going to see nothing but more of this character. They're not just like a one-time guest appearance or whatever.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, it's super cool. It's really, really super.
Excellent. All right. Well, we are going to take a short break here. Again, you're listening to We Geek Podcast on the N.FM, and we'll see. Welcome back to We Geek Podcast on the N.FM, and we're going to dive into some video game news here. I thought this was interesting. Daryl Gallagher, who was the head of product development over at Square Enix, has left the company. And he was big. He was a producer on the last couple of Tomb Raider games, along with some other stuff. So I thought that seemed odd. He'd been there.
That is odd.
He'd been there, I think, something like a decade. He'd been there like 10 years.
Wow, that Tomb Raider game, the last one was good. The new one is so good and so criminally not purchased.
Yeah.
By people. I even hesitate to say go Redbox it because you really should buy that game. It's so good.
It's that good, huh?
Yeah, it is really good. It's totally good. Of course, you got a budget, go Redbox it, whatnot, but support it, man. And unfortunately, it's just that Microsoft and Square Enix botched that. So maybe we'll see I doubt it, but maybe we'll see it, come back around next year when it's out on PlayStation.
Yeah.
To see what it does. That just really sucks. It really does suck.
Interesting.
Yeah, but
I'm curious if when it does come out on PS4, if it gets like a definitive edition deal kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. They're gonna. Yeah. There's no way they wouldn't do it like that. It's gonna get like all the DLC and. Even though it's coming out a year later, it will have all the content that it was supposed to. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I keep looking at that and I'm like, okay, that'll be next, and then like something will happen and I'm like, I'm getting there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the game that I kind of, when I go back to playing, that will probably be the one that I go back to because it's just interesting. It has. What's cool about it is, yes, it's very Uncharted and whatnot. It's a snake eating its own tail or whatever, but there's a lot of tombs in this one, and I like that. Like,
nice.
there's points where I'm just trying to figure out the tomb. I don't have to worry about shooting things, and I from what I understand, later in the game, it's a lot of shooting, towards the end. But during most of the middle of the game right now, I'm not doing any of that. I'm just figuring out tombs and caves and stuff. So it's kind of fun.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Very cool. This I'm gonna bounce to this one real quick because it was a small piece of news. Capcom has announced that Street Fighter V will support the Steam operating system.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be on Sony and Steam, right? Sony and
Yeah.
PC.
Yeah, Sony and PC, yeah.
Right, right. Didn't Sony give money to Capcom to like help them stay alive?
It was something like that, I think.
Right, and that's why it's gonna be on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yep.
Uh, this was bizarre news. I didn't see this coming because I didn't know this company was still around. And I'm gonna probably mispronounce it. I always said it was ColecoVision.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's how I pronounce it, and I
they
mispronounce everything.
they they have announced a new console, a new cartridge-based console called
What?
the ColecoVision Chameleon. And let me read, the only way that I could describe this was the way that they did. And they said, quote, it will accurately play compilations of favorite games from the past, as well as play brand new games in the 8, 16, and 32-bit styles.
Wait, so this isn't like one of those things that you pick up at the dollar store that has like all the old school ColecoVision games. Have you seen these things where it's like
Oh, they're
a,
everywhere, yeah.
a Sega machine or an Atari machine? I've thought about it. I'm like, Dad has how many Sega games?
Yeah.
And it's like $30. That would be really cool. I still have my Sega Genesis, but all those games like yeah, okay, this is what I'm talking about. I just looked it up. It's called ColecoVision Flashback.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Right, and it's a classic game console, and it has like, let's see, one, two, three, four, probably looks like it maybe has like 40, no, one, two, three, maybe like 50 or 60 games in it,
Yeah.
all like old school Coleco games. So I imagine it'll be like that, but if it can play new ones, I mean, I don't know, what kind of audience is gonna get this?
I I have no idea.
Yeah.
They did say, and this was I thought was interesting. They did say that each release is going to come in like the old hard shell cases, complete with instruction manual and the whole bit.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I keep thinking like old Genesis titles.
Right, right.
But I thought that's okay, sure. Why not? Uh,
Yeah.
and while we're on that subject, I'm gonna bring this up, and you kind of crushed my dreams on this one, but that's what
Oh,
happens sometimes.
well, what happened?
There's been an article going around, and it's apparently not true that Sega is working on a console PC hybrid of the Dreamcast 2.
Well, it just wouldn't make sense.
I know, but I don't. It would make more sense than a ColecoVision console.
Well, I mean, I could no. Well, hold on. I think maybe you're onto something. Okay, for example, I'm looking right at now the Sega Genesis Classic Game Console. It's Sega Genesis at Games Classic Game Console. What it is it is 80 games built into it. It's an emulator, and it has 80 classic Sega games. Why couldn't you do the same thing for a Sega Dreamcast? What's the difference? There's no difference. It's just emulation.
I would be okay with that. Let
I
them
mean,
do it
this
that way.
this 80, for example, this 80 built-in games. It has Sega. I'm sorry, it has all the Sonic games. It has Mortal Kombat, all the Mortal Kombat games up to like three or whatever. It has Dolphin. It has or whatever that game is.
Echo the
Echo. Yeah,
Dolphin.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a picture of a dolphin. Sorry. It has all of these Sega games that a lot of them I'm remembering. Ripstar or yeah, Echo Junior. There's just a ton of them here. Warner Brother owns Mortal Kombat. There's a lot. Why couldn't they do this for whoever does this, the at whatever? Maybe that's what's coming. Maybe they're doing a emulated Dreamcast.
I'd be all right with that.
Right, and that's their way of announcing it to get people excited, and then suddenly they should have done this maybe a few months ago so you can get it for Christmas.
Right.
But maybe it's like an 80 built-in, like here's your whole Dreamcast system. We're getting to that point where they could do it for Sega Genesis. Nintendo could easily do that, but they're not. There's
Yeah.
no way. Nintendo, they're holding on to those babies because you can just get a Wii and buy them individually for $5.
Yeah.
But Sega, why not? It's a company that doesn't sell consoles anymore. They have this other company just sell an emulated box for $50. That's kind of a cool thing. I totally would buy that if I was like a super hardcore Sega Genesis fan or whatever,
Yeah.
or a Sega
Dreamcast, yeah.
Dreamcast. Yeah.
I mean, Dreamcast had some good games. Let's be real about that. You know, the first. Look, we all know how terribly the first Sonic Adventure has aged, but, you know, nostalgia's a powerful drug, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got
That,
Sega games on an iPad, so why not?
yeah.
Why not do a emulated console?
And I don't know, maybe that's why. Because they're available on so many other platforms.
Oh, that's true.
But I don't. So I don't know. There was a countdown timer up, and it winds up on next Thursday, I think. Next Wednesday or Thursday, I think. It'll be post our next episode.
That's an
So,
odd time to do a
I,
countdown.
yeah, right. But so we'll see what that is.
Yeah.
You know, again, my hopes are not very up, but I was like, hey, maybe this is a thing, because why not?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on, Steam has its own system, and that was kind of the epitome of unnecessary. Like they already had a platform, they had PC, but they were like, "No, we want our own console."
Right, it's their way of like, for some people, having a computer in their living room is ugly. They would rather have just a little machine sitting there next to their TV.
Eh,
That controller just looks weird to me. I've never used it, but I don't imagine I'd ever use that. Um, I don't know. I don't know what a Steam machine, who their audience would be for that anyway. Most people, computers, as expensive as they are, they're more affordable now than they have ever been.
oh, totally.
Yeah, so it's to get a decent running computer, it's $400 or $500. That's not that much more than a regular PlayStation or something like that. I just think now more than ever, people like sitting on their couch playing than sitting at a computer desk
Fair
playing.
enough.
But of course, you have your hardcore PC players. I love PC games. I actually might get into that in a little bit because speaking of Steam, there's a few Steam things I wanted to kind of discuss real fast.
Okay.
Um, they have their big sale right now.
Right.
Skyrim is like some stupid number, like 90% off. No, maybe I'm sorry. Maybe it's like 75% off. It's
Don't
super
don't
cheap.
tell me that, cause I'll go buy it.
Oh, dude, Skyrim is incredibly cheap right now. You can pick up Metal Gear, the new Metal Gear game, for $40. Um, yeah, I mean Skyrim's $5 right now.
Oh, don't do that to me.
Yeah, the Legendary Edition is 10, so which is all the DLC.
Yeah,
So
crap.
yeah, Witcher is $30. Witcher 3, dude, you can get Witcher 2 for $1.50. So
Wow.
there's a ton of sales. Devil May Cry is 75% off. The Tropico series, which is like the city builder games, I think, but for like islands and whatnot. Devil May Cry, 55% off. Sid Meier Civilization games, 75% off.
Civ the complete edition of Civ 5 is like $12, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
And I bought that because I'm weird.
Oh yeah, Quake is $10. There's just everything's on sale right now, and
Yeah.
yeah, dude. Now is the time to buy Steam games if that's what you play on. I actually a few years ago got the Star Wars collection. So as you can imagine, that's what I've been diving into recently. I loaded up uh, KOTOR 2. I played a little bit of. It came with like, oh, dude, I couldn't even get into all the Star Wars games that are in it. But yeah, all the Knights of the Old Republic. I loaded up the actual Old Republic game.
Oh, nice.
The MMO, I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
And I started playing a little bit of. How are we with time? Because I don't want to get into it if we got a few minutes. But
We got a couple.
all right, so yeah, I started playing the Old Republic. They have their new where basically they bump you to 60, and once you bump to 60, it's mostly story mode, and that's kind of how they're labeling it. Like, hey, come back in. This is classic BioWare.
There you go.
And so they give you the first chapter for free. And I think like the rest, the 9 other chapters are pretty much you have to pay. I forgot what the price is, but it's all still free to play. It's free to play up to like level up to that pretty much. So you can do like 60 levels of this game for free. But you know what? I'll talk to you about it when we get back, when we get into more game stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll see you in a minute. Again, you're listening to We Geek Podcast on the N.FM. Welcome back to We Geek Podcast on the N.FM. And yeah, real fast, I'll talk about my the games I was playing off of Steam. A few years back, I got a huge sale on the Star Wars games. I don't know if they're still doing it. I don't know if I can see it because I got the bundle already, but I can see that all the games are super cheap right now. Where I got Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. I got Dark Forces. I got Empire at War, which is like the RTS. Republic Commando, Jedi Knight Academy, Jedi Knight Outcast. Starfighter, Battlefront 2, Dark Forces, all the Dark Forces games, which is like Jedi Mysteries of the Sith, all this other stuff. The Force Unleashed, Force Unleashed 2. The only games I didn't pick up that didn't come in the bundle were these like X-Wing and Alliance and X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter, which are classic PC games that I don't think I ever played. I might have played once with the joystick a while ago, but they're all on sale right now, like all 70% off. So I did start Knights of the Old Republic because I just this is gonna sound strange, but I played it as a kid. I don't remember most of the ending of it, and I know that's crazy because everyone loves it. It's one of the best Star Wars games of all time, but I want to dive back into it because I remember the main beats of it, but it's been so long since I played it. I want to dive back in, so I'm going to do that. Then Knights of the Old Republic 2. I'm just in full Star Wars mode right now.
There you go.
And those are some good games. So of course everyone has Battlefront. That's the new big shiny toy. But I'm telling you, some of these older games, especially Jedi Knight Outcast, if you've never played it, it's $2.99 right now on Steam. And by the way, you can play that on Mac.
Can you?
Yep, you can play Jedi Knight Outcast and Jedi Knight Academy. You can play Knights of the Old Republic. You can play Knights of the Old Republic 2. You can play Force Unleashed. And the rest are all Windows. So they're on sale for $2.99. So definitely go pick that up. But yeah, so I'm going to be diving into those because I'm in full Star Wars mode. And yeah, I mean, I went to go do it the other day, but I spent a few hours on YouTube looking up interviews and stuff like that, and it was past my bedtime, and I was like, I didn't even get to play anything. but yeah, man. So yeah, that's what I've been playing this week. So I kind of wanted to talk about that during our video game talk.
Nice.
And oh yeah, like I was saying, the Old Republic, the MMO. It's free to play. Jump into it. I'm playing like the level 60 stuff because I wanted to see the story mode, but I have a few characters that are like around level 15 that I want to play through because it's not as tight, of course, as the old BioWare type, RPG games.
Right.
But there's still a lot of there. Every class has their own story. For example, if you play the Jedi class, you are going to get a completely different story than playing the bounty hunter class. Totally different worlds, totally different characters you run into. Same thing as if you're playing like the Imperial officer role. It's a completely different story. So it's really cool. It's really cool. And if you like MMOs like I do, where you just get a checklist of things to check off, this game is awesome because it actually has a story where you're talking to characters, interacting with them, and there's just a story there. Unlike most MMOs where you're just like, go kill 12 pigs. Okay, here's a leg armor. It's like that, but there's actually story to it. So anyway, that's my video games that I played this week.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we've got what else have we got here? Talking about sales and whatnot, we have the Games for Gold lineup, and I only threw this in here because I thought this one was interesting. Killer Instinct Season 1 is going to be free all month.
Oh, awesome.
That's gonna be that's one I was like, I want to get that. Like that's one I
Oh
want.
yeah.
I will wait until it goes on sale or something.
Oh yeah.
And so now it's got that, because that was a system for a buddy of mine. Like they wanted that bad.
Right.
It's like, okay, cool. And I hated the way they announced that at E3 a couple of years ago, because they didn't actually announce it. They were like, oh, wait, your game has finished downloading in the background while they're showing off what was it, their big Roman game that nobody played.
Right. Oh God. Rise.
Yeah, that was it.
Right.
And like that tanked. But like they were
Yep.
showing gameplay of that, and it's like, oh, and background downloading, and it's like, hey, this game, or it was like, oh, you've got a match pending in this or whatever, and they jumped right to it. They never actually said the words Killer Instinct until after they were done, and they were like, oh, by the way, so that was Killer Instinct, and now we're moving on to whatever. I was like,
Oh, that's crazy.
you guys just totally screwed that up. What the hell?
Yeah.
But and watching, I did get a little hands-on time with it. That the same buddy that bought the Xbox One, and I was like, this, okay, I like this. I want this. This would be really cool. But
Right.
so now it's part of the Games for Gold for January, and so I know what I'll be doing.
Right. Oh yeah.
For sure. But oh, there were a couple others actually, and there's Xbox 360 offerings. Dirt Showdown for the first half of the month,
Oh,
and
okay.
the dirt games were always fun to me. I love the Codemasters racing games, the dirt games. Grid was great. I think I've talked before just how much I enjoyed Grid 2. And then at the second half of the month, that goes out, and Deus Ex Human Revolution comes in. That will be interesting,
Okay.
because that was good. I didn't play a whole lot of it, but it was one that I always wanted to go back to. And and again, these, like all of the 360 titles that are games for gold offerings going forward, are going to be backwards compatible. So
Oh, cool.
if you do have an Xbox One, you get all the Xbox One stuff plus the 360 stuff.
That's awesome.
So that's neat.
That is
Neat.
cool.
Also, yesterday on PlayStation Store, Fantavision was the newest PS2 for PS4 title.
No, I
And
never played it.
oh man, Fantavision is one of those that is very nostalgia heavy. You get it because it was a launch title, basically. It's
Oh, okay.
You detonate fireworks. That's the game. But it's you find a YouTube video of somebody playing a level so that you can see, like, oh yeah, I could spend $7.50 on that, or
Phantom
maybe not.
Vision?
Fanta, Fanta Vision.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I loved it back then. I loved it way more than I think I should have. But
Oh, okay. I see
as
here.
soon as it dropped yesterday, I was like, mine, totally mine, all mine. I had to have that one.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a fireworks game.
Yeah,
That's cool.
but so we've got all that going on. We had some Pokemon Go news, and part of this was really cool to me.
Yeah.
Most of it was kind of common sense. They were like, yeah, you'll find Pokemon like wherever. You're not gonna have to go way out into the middle of nowhere just to find Pokemon. Some of them you might, and a lot of them are gonna be climate specific. You know, there's going to be like, where are you going to find water Pokemon? Well, you know, near the beach or the lake or a river. You know, stuff like that that makes sense. But that's not the only place you're going to find them.
Where are we gonna get the fire ones? There's no mountains in Florida. God, I'm just gonna have nothing but water Pokemon, aren't I?
You're going to have to,
Oh,
I guess.
Jesus.
Uh,
I guess it could be worse. I could have grass Pokemon.
hey, well, I mean, up here, what would I have? Flying, rock, grass, ground.
Right.
Eh,
Yeah, well, you're all over the place. You guys
Yeah.
actually have seasons.
This is true. This is very
Right.
true.
We're gonna be straight up, war turtles everywhere I walk.
Well, go to the Everglades, pick up a Bulbasaur,
Right, yeah. And where's the Charizard gonna be? You gotta go to like Australia to get him.
I I don't know, man.
Yeah.
But they also said there will be gyms.
Cool.
You know me. I want to be a gym leader. I'll be flying type. I'll do it.
Yep.
Come up here. Come to the area. Let's go.
When does this game come out again?
Sometime next year. Like they didn't have a thing.
God, it's 2016. Rumors February 27th, 2016.
Interesting. That soon?
Yeah. Websites. That's some websites saying that. Oh no! Wait, hold on. No. Forget that. That's something else. Sorry.
Another one of those, huh?
Yep.
Oh
Pokemon.
well. But I thought that was interesting news.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some, like, I don't know what happened the other day that we got so much Bandai Namco news.
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
We got like half a dozen trailers. Did you see this?
No.
We had, they're bringing God Eater Resurrection and God Eater 2 Rage Burst, which, if I remember right, were like really big in Japan. They're bringing them over. They're doing another Tales of game. This is Tales of Berseria. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong. Another JoJo's Bizarre Adventure game. Again, these are like Tales I've heard of. This one I have not. This is Hang on. Let me try that again. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Eyes of Heaven. I had no idea what this game was about at all. Still don't. And they're bringing a Vita exclusive as the next Gundam game. It's Mobile Suit Gundam Extreme VS Force. Because that's why.
Right.
These titles, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But I mean, they just all dropped kind of out of nowhere, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. None of them seemed interesting to me.
Yeah.
When I looked at them, I'm not a Gundam guy, and I don't know. I saw a few of the other trailers. It just didn't do anything for me.
Fair enough.
God, I'm just thinking about this Pokemon Go. I gotta update my phone. Yeah. It's isn't that weird? The only time I'm like, I definitely need a new phone is when Pokemon Go is going to be coming out at some point next year. So I'm already thinking about, all right, guess I gotta get a new iPhone or something because I want to be able to play it. Yeah.
We had some. Speaking of Bandai, let me find his name here. Julian Merceron, who was a technology director over at Konami, and he was the architect of the Fox engine. He has left the building and is moved to Bandai Namco.
Oh wow!
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like everybody's getting out as quickly as they can.
Mass exodus, man. They're leaving that company.
I'm telling you.
They're just gonna be. I'm telling you, my grandma will know about that company because she'll be playing the slot machines, but that's about it.
Oh man.
It's. It kind of sucks. That's probably going to be the last big Metal Gear Solid game. The next one, it's going to have so much. If they do a next one, it's just going to have so much people going, nope, it's not my Metal Gear Solid, and it's going to be interesting to see what people do, but I doubt it's going to be a big seller. And people will just, because of what happened behind the scenes, they're going to want nothing to do with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, we are gonna take a short break here. Again, you're listening to We Geek Podcast. I cannot talk anymore. On the N.FM, and we'll see you. Welcome back to We Geek Podcast on the N.FM, And yeah, we got a little more video game news here. You brought up something interesting you found while we were on break. Something about Tarantino. I'm going back to movies for a quick second, but this sounded interesting.
Yeah. There's a few things. Movies I don't have in front of me anymore, but it's basically Quentin Tarantino almost made a Luke Cage film in the 90s. He wants to do his own. It says here, it was my comic geek friends that this is Quentin Tarantino. It was my comic geek friends that almost talked me out of it. I thought Larry Fishburne back in the day would have been a great Luke Cage when they were talking about Wesley Snipes. I could see them both, but it was like I think Fish would be better, and they'd go, yeah, he could work out and everything, but he doesn't have the bod for that Wesley Snipes has, and Luke Cage needs to have the bod. And I literally was so turned off that I'm trying to hold on, that would both be starting at the end point. Starting in at the end point, I don't know if I'm ever going to do it, but I literally put in my head that I'd like to do it. Quentin Tarantino just sounds weird when he talks.
Yeah.
I'm trying to read it like how he talks, but it's not working. But he said he kind of wants to do his own original character, and one day would like to do a comic book movie, which is kind of interesting. I could totally see him do a freaking Luke Cage movie or TV show.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. With his style. I could see him doing it more in line with the actual comic book than what we're gonna get.
True.
Because Luke Cage back in the day was was a sign of his time. The way he talked and everything else. It was like a character in a Quentin Tarantino film.
Yeah, this is true.
At least in my head when I read him, it was very much a sign of the time. But yeah, I don't know. I could see him doing a Luke Cage movie. There was also another thing. I don't think I have it up anymore. But oh yeah, a TV thing. David Fisher and Charlize Theron. Did you know they're doing a Netflix serial killer series?
No.
Yeah, they're doing a TV show on Netflix called Mindhunter. According to Deadline, both Fisher and Theron are on board as executive producers, with Fisher, who expected to direct. Additionally, the outlet has received reports that screenwriter Britt Jo Penhall is heading the script. So it's going to be like a serial killer TV show.
Interesting.
Yeah, Mindhunter is based on the 1996 book by Special Agent John Douglas and Mark Oshker. I'm probably mispronouncing it. It's titled Mindhunter: Inside the FBI Elite Serial Crime Unit, and offers a behind-the-scenes look at a number of Douglas' biggest cases that hunt down some of history's most infamous serial killers.
How about that?
Yeah. There was a Netflix show that's coming out, and it's all about like. Did you ever listen to the Serial podcast?
No, I actually never did.
Oh, you definitely need to go listen to Serial. Netflix has a crime drama show.
Is it Making of a Murderer? Is that
Making of a Murderer? That's what's it. And I think it's actually already out.
It's out, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a 10-part series that I saw the trailer for it, and it just seems super interesting because the guy, he gets put in jail, and then they realize, oh crap, it wasn't him. And then when he gets out, the police department is so shamed because he's about to owe them, they're about to owe him millions because of what they did to screw up. And in a few weeks, he gets charged for another murder, and
Wow.
it's just all weird. It's just totally weird. There's no reason. The way they make the trailer look, it's like, is this town really just trying to get him back in jail? Like, because it went all the way to the highest level of corruption in this trial.
Wow.
And it was just super interesting. So,
I have to check that out. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to check it out. But yeah, it was called Making a Murderer, Netflix, and it basically it's like Serial. The way the trailer played it out, because it gives you the story about something that happened, and it makes you question, like, could he have done it? And Serial, the podcast, it's just superb the way they do that. The first season of Serial, second season of Serial just started, and I think it's about like Benghazi, but the first season is fantastic. And I say season, but it's a podcast. The first The first story that they did was just you can't put it down.
Yeah.
You're listening to episode, and you're like, I gotta go to work, but I really want to hear this next episode. You can't put it down because you're like, did he do it? It sounds like he didn't do it, but are the circumstances just weird? I don't know. It's really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah, I needed more stuff on Netflix to watch.
Yeah, man, and listen to that podcast, man. I hope maybe in a few weeks or so you get at least one episode in. Get one episode under your belt, and I guarantee you won't be able to put it down. You'll be like,
Okay.
oh crap, what am I doing? It's 3 a.m. I should be sleeping.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting stuff. So, jump back over to video games for a second here. Just a couple more pieces of news. We had a brief update on the Final Fantasy VII remake. Tetsuya Nomura, director, said it is going to be fully voiced. We are going to have voice acting. They may or may not go with the cast from Advent Children. They haven't exactly made up their minds on that yet.
Okay.
They said they are bringing remastered versions of the original mini games, the G-Bike, the Sub, snowboarding, the whole bit. So Gold Saucer is going to be way more fun than it already is, which is exactly what that needed. And they also said it's going to be a little more open world style. That I thought was the more interesting piece of news. So I thought that's gonna take it away even a little bit from the action RPG ish kind of thing. So
Okay.
they didn't want to use the word sandbox per se, but it was going to be more open world.
Well, if this is going to be my weird thing about it. If it's episodic, are you going to be able to go to the beginning part of the game? Or if it's open world and it's episodic, are you going to have episode 1 and episode 2 installed on the system in order for you to go around the world?
Interesting. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
Because that's going to be weird. That's going to be really weird if you're going to have all those files still on your. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they play that out.
Right.
Yeah.
It will be interesting. And we had one last piece of news here. We had something from Rocksteady. They did a video, little announcement of sorts about detailing the last piece of DLC for Arkham Knight for this year. And when they asked, they put it up there like they were asking about, but like what's coming next? Like what are you guys working on next? And then it cut to like a quick test pattern image, and it was a little static and a brief flicker of the Scarecrow, and then it came back to the regular feed, and they were like, and then so that's kind of what we're doing now.
Scarecrow.
Like, okay, so yeah, that's gonna be interesting. Like it was supposed to be framed like, oh yeah, the feed cut out, oops, but it was clearly meant to be like, okay, this is gonna be probably Scarecrow themed and whatever.
Right.
I haven't played any of the DLC for Arkham Knight at all. Once I got done with it, I was done with it. So
Right.
have you played any of the?
No, I 100%ed the game and I was done. I uninstalled it. No use for it anymore. I took a picture of me sitting next to the 100%, and that was it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But
So
it was a fun game for what it was, and
yeah,
there's no reason for me to go back. I mean, maybe one day I'll get interested and install it again, but I don't see that happening. Yeah.
Interesting. And I think that's gonna wrap it for video game news.
Cool.
Yeah, I think we have covered. Just going back through here real quick. Yeah, that is everything. We had a little bit of comics news. This was interesting. They did announce that Gwenpool is going to be getting her own comic because we can't. Gwen Stacy just can't be dead. It doesn't matter
Right.
what universe. They're just gonna be. There's gonna be as many versions of her as there are of Peter Parker.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool though. I mean, there's big fans of that Deadpool, and makes sense.
I guess. I didn't read. I've been so behind on current comics. The last thing that I read current was Secret Wars 8. I think it was
Was that the
8.
newest one?
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
it was good. It was very
Yeah,
good.
Secret Wars is amazing. We're in that weird time where we're still reading Secret Wars, but we're like months into the new stuff. No, I'm reading the new stuff. I'm reading a lot of the new X-Men stuff, the Avengers stuff. Um, there's not much coming out in the last few weeks just because uh, the time of year it is,
Right.
I guess. But I kind of did what you did. I'm reading a lot of I'm reading a lot of the Star Wars comics and whatnot. I haven't read Princess Leia, and I haven't read Lando, so I'm going to be diving into those probably after the show.
There you go.
Yeah, and I'm in kind of like I want to read the Star Wars novels now. You know what I actually really want to read is the novelization of Force Awakens, because from what I understand, they go into a lot of details that we just didn't get in the movie, especially like a lot of what the characters are thinking,
Right.
and like Kylo Ren and stuff like that. Like you don't hear him in his head, but you see his actions and whatnot. But so yeah, I want to read that. But yeah, dude, I want to get into Plagueis and all these other Star Wars books that yeah, I might be a little bit light on comic books, but not that bad. It's still okay. Um, I'll probably stick to Secret Wars, some X-Men, Avengers, and Batman. Batman's been good every week. I don't know if you're behind on Batman, but
Yeah.
whew, it's so good.
Nice.
That's unfortunately the only DC comic I'm reading.
Not even Justice League?
No, not even Justice League. I do not care a thing about this Apocalypse War or whatever. Reread some of those Justice League books 3 or 4 times. I have no idea what's going on.
Oh,
No
wow.
idea. I'm like, what? Why is Batman sitting in a chair? Who? What is? He's a god now. It doesn't. That does not get me at all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a
It-
that's a bummer of sorts.
yeah. I mean, the Marvel books aren't doing that good either, but it's interesting seeing, this Jean Grey who's never met Logan, now kind of hanging out with him, and him, of course, he knows Jean Grey, but he doesn't want to get close, because of what happened.
Right.
But he's still kind of like the guiding figure to them. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, I'm kind of reading the same old stuff, but just trying to get into the Star Wars books.
Well, it gives you, all this Force Awakens stuff has given you a reason to go back to it.
Oh yeah. Oh
That's
yeah, once we're gonna take a break and we'll get back and we'll talk about reviews and we'll talk about a lot of the Star Wars comics and the Heir to the Empire that we read
yeah,
over the last week. So all right, yeah, should we go to break?
yeah, yeah. Let's go
Okay.
ahead and do it.
All right,
You
you're
want to do it?
listening to We Geek Podcast on the N.FM, and we'll see.
Welcome back to We Geek Podcast on the N.FM. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and dive into our reviews section here. What do you want to start with? You want to start with comics?
Yeah, real fast. Just tell me what you thought of Heir to the Empire.
Heir to the Empire was interesting. I'm a touch bummed they're not doing that moving forward. Uh, uh, Grand Admiral Thrawn was a really impressive kind of character.
You know what though? Here's the thing: they could still easily put him in it
True.
because his whole time period was right after Jedi, and he could. No, we don't want to get into the movie territory, but I'll talk to that about that when we get into Force Awakens. But he could still totally be a character. There's probably a lot of um, uh, New Order characters we've just never seen, especially ones that might have died, years prior, but were
Right.
huge after the Emperor fell. We could still absolutely see a Thrawn movie where right after the Emperor Thrawn, he was the guy, and then something happens to him and he dies or whatever, they could still tell that story. Oh God, I don't want to get into spoiler territory. I'll talk about it if you're still listening and you've seen The Force Awakens when we talk about that in a few minutes. Listen then, because I'm going to talk about Thrawn and how he still could play a part, but he still could. He still absolutely could. But yeah, dude, here's the thing. For all of the extended universe, most Star Wars fans, that is the best thing about the extended universe, was the Thrawn trilogy. Of course, the books are better than the comics. You can't. I'm reading this and I'm like, oh, the whole scene at the beginning of the comic where he talks to Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it's not explained, but that's the last time he sees Obi. But in the book, like, he knows it. That is the last. Obi-Wan Kenobi is moving on, and he says, "This is gonna be the last time I see you. Like, you're good. You got this."
He was wrong.
Yeah. And so I mean, they blow by things in the comic that they go into so much detail, especially with Thrawn. A lot of the stuff that it's a comic and it's, however many pages. But yeah, dude, it's really good. You could absolutely pick up the second book. If you wanted to read the novels. If you want to read the first novel, go ahead. But you could absolutely pick up the second book in the trilogy and go right from there.
Nice.
And enjoy it. I liked it. It's pretty dated though. Like, the comic doesn't play out like a newer comic.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. But it gives you an idea of what the Star Wars extended universe was before Disney picked it up.
Right.
And it was just our classic heroes, getting into mischief. You get to see Mara Jade, I guess is how you pronounce it. And what her relationship is, and spoiler alerts, for the extended universe that doesn't exist anymore. That was his wife. That's who he hooked up with and had a kid. Luke Skywalker did. So, it's really interesting because they don't really go into it in the comic, but she was the Emperor's hand, pretty much.
Yeah.
You find all that out later and whatnot. I thought it was cool about the animals, the creatures that lived on this planet where you couldn't use the Force around them.
Yeah.
It really made Thrawn interesting because it was like, oh, he has now something that can completely mute the Jedi.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I thought it was cool.
He was a really, even if it doesn't go into as much detail, you still get the idea that this is an intimidating character. This is somebody who in any kind of fight, in actual, a straight up fight or something to plan. This is a guy who could beat you on the mat and on the chessboard. That was the feeling that I got.
Yep, especially the chessboard. He was one of the best minds the Empire had, for going to war, and they knew it. And in the novel, that's what they go into so much detail for. When you're reading the book, you're just like, holy crap, they wouldn't have stood a chance maybe if he was in charge instead of Vader, because Vader had all of his emotions and everything else tied up, where if it was Thrawn that was in charge, it would have been over with. It would have been so much different than with Vader been in charge. So it's a very interesting character. I thought it was cool. And it's a cool kind of stepping point. So if you want to go read the Thrawn trilogy, you can start with the second or read the first. But this comic can kind of get you into it.
Yeah.
What did you think about the newer comics that we read?
I love the newer comics too. I've read the first 8, I think, of the main Star Wars line, and I'm really digging it. It's been interesting to see the evolution of some of these characters, and to kind of forget what happened in Jedi and everything, and even in Empire, and just kind of come back and say, there's Han Solo still talking about, I don't believe in the Force. There's no such thing as the Force. It was by the time we got to Empire, you could see he like that was already part of his system. Like he knew what he expected. He didn't understand it, but he was like, oh yeah, that's totally a thing.
Oh yeah.
So to see, that was the big thing that kind of stuck out to me. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, we're still here. But so that was good, and I'm still catching up a little with that. Same with Vader. Vader's really interesting.
Vader is my favorite because there's Afra.
Yeah,
Her name's Afra. Super interesting because she's like a female Han Solo, and you'll see moving forward. There's gonna be a scene where you're like, yep, like her and Han Solo would be kind of perfect together. Because she's just like him. She's fun, she's witty, and she plays perfectly off of this Darth Vader character
nice.
who could kill her at any moment. And she knows it. And her droids, 000 and BT-1,
Yeah,
who are evil versions of R2-D2 and C-3PO.
they're hysterical.
I love that 000 just wants to kill humans at any point in time, and he's like, "Can I drain them of their blood right now?" Like, he's just the opposite of 3PO.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's cool. You see, because it's not that big of a spoiler. You see all of these characters interact later. C-3PO and these guys and Luke and everybody, and it's just so funny, like how they bounce off of each other. So
nice.
it's really cool, man. Vader is definitely one of my favorite comics right now, especially with all of this Vader down stuff, and it's all crisscrossing because it's basically a huge big story just going over all the comics.
Right.
And all the characters are in the same space.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how they do it to make it still canon.
Yeah, that's got to be quite a set of hoops to jump through.
Oh yeah, it was because going into this, we were thinking like I was like, how are they going to do canon in that time period, and Luke and Darth Vader just tiptoeing around each other where they never actually meet each other, but they know they're there, know, and they do it well. They do it well. A lot of the other characters kind of intermix. But yeah, dude, I can't wait moving forward. I want to know. I want to see Force Awakens comics. I want those comics to come out so that we're gonna get one like about C-3PO in February. We're gonna where we find out how he has his red arm, and silly stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I was reading an article and basically said, look out in February. There's going to be a lot of that kind of stuff. So
Excellent.
We'll at least probably get news by then.
Yeah. We had what else? I didn't read Chewie or Lando. I did read Leia, and you said you hadn't read that one.
Right.
That one is fascinating because it's not a look at Leia's role with the rebellion. It's like, oh hey, wait a minute. I was princess of a planet that was obliterated.
Right.
What about everybody else? Like there are Alderanians throughout different systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen to them? Well, it turns out the Empire had the same thought, except theirs is, hey, let's hunt them down.
Oh, wow.
So it's her story of her heritage. Nobody ever really, like when that happened, it was like she was, well, I'm very sad. And then like kind of that was it. Like it was never mentioned again. This spin-off series goes into that. And it's
that's
really,
cool.
It's 5 issues, and it's really well done, and it's really interesting.
Oh, I want to check that out.
You should.
Definitely. I've read 1 or 2 of Lando, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I read 2 of Lando. Yeah. I was like, okay, yeah, he's a much more successfully slick Han Solo.
Right, pretty much, absolutely. And Chewie was cool too. Like Chewie, his story was mostly revolved around a kid that he kind of stumbles across and wants to help. And I don't know. It's just Chewie sees probably a lot in the kid that he saw in himself.
Sure.
And Chewbacca just roars, and the kid doesn't really understand him, but he pretends that he does. I don't know. It's really weird, but it's cool. But yeah, I know it's a really good comic too.
Nice.
Yeah. It's not as dark or as deep as Vader and Star Wars. It seems like Vader and Star Wars are the 2 main ones.
Right.
Right. They intertwine a lot. Like you even get, I don't know if you're up to the point where you're actually getting like almost like superheroes in the Star Wars universe, where they're
Mm,
not force sensitive,
okay.
but they have tech in them that it's kind of like a weird Fantastic Four. Are you that far in it yet?
No.
Okay, yeah. There's like some weird. You'll see them where they're like, here are my four blah blah blahs, and they give them their names, and they're not force sensitive, I don't believe, but they have this tech on them that make them like crazy like powerful in certain ways.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's super interesting. I just can't wait until they like. I want to see a comic about Finn in the First Order. I want to see a comic about Rey. I want to see a comic, about Poe. Like, or even a random character set in the new time frame. So where they kind of explain a little bit more of where we're at in that world. Should we even get into spoilers? We only got a few minutes left, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we didn't even really talk about Force Awakens. I guess go listen to our complete spoiler cast for that. I still do want to talk about Force Awakens on this show, though. So next week we definitely need to make sure we have some time set aside for it.
Sounds good.
Um, yeah, we're definitely gonna do that next week. But yeah, like I don't know, but yeah, let's let's get in to the goodbyes. So again, you want to go to our Facebook group, We Geek Podcast. There's two of them. There's ones you can like and one you can chat on. Make sure you do reviews for us on iTunes. We Geek Podcast, of course, is the name. Listen to us every Wednesday at 9 o'clock here on the in.fm. Our Twitter is at We Geek Podcast, at Adam Estep, and
At the Logan Witt.
there you go. Shoot us an email at wegeekpodcast@gmail.com. And I was kind of throwing around the idea, Logan, maybe next week you want to do like a top 10 movie list or top 10 video game list of each of ours
For the year.
for
Yeah.
the year, and we can kind of compare them.
Okay.
I think pretty much all the stuff's come out already.
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool for us to just kind of compare. I'm sure they're going to be very different. But yeah, let's do that for next week, and we'll do like a
Okay.
whole segment on Force Awakens, and it will give us enough time to see it a few times and kind of get a real clear thought on it. Even though we have our entire Star Wars, spoiler special on it,
Right.
we want to still talk about it here, and we still kind of want to give our non-spoilery than our spoilery review. Short end of it. But that's it. Is there anything I'm missing?
I think that'll do it.
All right. Well, we'll see you all guys next week, Captain.
Captain.